But the background to the Tullamore Club is a story that is unique in Irish sport. Brendan O'Reilly reports.
This is Paddy Larkin, the secretary of Tullamore Harriers Athletic Club, a seldom-spoken retiring man, but by any standards one of the most remarkable achievers in Irish sport. We're standing in front of his home in Tullamore, which he built himself. It's not uncommon to have a greenhouse or a conservatory at the end of the garden, but Paddy Larkin is different. He literally has an athletic stadium, measuring up to the highest international standards. It has been described as the only privately owned stadium of its kind in the world. It was conceived and built by a group of amateur enthusiasts, and its maintenance, all manual work and stewarding are carried out on a voluntary basis. It is currently valued in the region of £10 million. Paddy Larkin takes up the story.
Actually, there were two clubs in Tullamore. The club that I was first associated with was a club where in an establishment where I worked called Salts AC, and it was not that Tullamore Harriers was born.
What were you working there as at the time?
I was a carpenter by trade.
That was in the early 50s, when synthetic tracks were unheard of. But the hallmark of the Tullamore Harriers' development has always been one step at a time.
Not what our dreams were initially, but certainly as years progressed, yes, we decided we'd like to have our own identity, and it was from that we really took off.
So were you a participant in athletics in those days?
I was, yes.
What did you do?
I rather very mediocre for the sprinting.
The group of young men from Tullamore that Paddy Larkin gathered around him then were nothing if not enthusiastic.
They were extremely keen. We were all very young, of course, and we were all athletics mad. And
you were in your teens and early 20s at the time.
We were indeed, yeah.
And it was in this barber shop that the concept of the multi-million-pound development was born.
But what really happened that particular night was we were assembled under the lamppost right here on my right-hand side, and it started to rain. So the chap that worked here, the hairdresser, Noel McGowan, and he brought us down here, and that's where it all commenced.
You went inside and sat down around a table and discussed the whole situation?
On the 13th of November 1953, and we formed the club that particular night. And ironically enough, the chairman was John Dowling, who subsequently became president of the GAA.
The Offaly County Hall was where the club held dances for fundraising. The charge on the door was 5 shillings or 7 and 6, depending on the quality of the band, and the function room on the top floor rang to the music of the legendary Clipper Carlton.
So you banked the money and saw it mount up.
We did, and we ran various other lotteries. Actually, we introduced bingo to Tullamore, and we ran that very successfully for a number of years. And from 1957 onwards, right up to 1968, we ran a carnival, which was one of the main generators of funds.
And for a clubhouse in those early years, you used a little place there off the main street.
Yes, we were in the clubhouse, the old clubhouse.
It's derelict now, of course.
It is, of course, very much dilapidated. But it was a great centre for us because we had, in all, we had about 100 members between juveniles and seniors, and it was a meeting place, and we were able to assemble there and do our business and train on the roads and with the goodwill of the local sports bodies. We were very lucky right down the years with the type of committee members we had. We were very dedicated lads, and in 1955 Brendan O'Shea became the treasurer of the club, and that was probably one of the great achievements of the club because he was a very shrewd man. He was no way ecstatic about money.
Your house?
Well, it's in keeping with Paddy's attachment to the stadium that he should build his house with the stadium literally at the end of his garden. So we repaired over there for a further chat. On this occasion, the stadium is hosting the Nestle All-Ireland Schools Championships, but it has been the venue for international, national, provincial and local championships. An average of 50 meetings per year are held, but it's the schools competitions, national and international, that have benefited most. At a senior Tullamore club level, Mick Neville was an outstanding middle distance runner, European indoor 2-mile champion, beating Derek Ibbotson, and cross-country international. Noel McGowan, the current club chairman, the 1956 national marathon champion in 2 hours 30 minutes. John O'Toole, winner of the Cork Marathon, 4-time member of the international cross-country team and its captain. Father Kieran McGovern, Mick Hayden, John O'Toole and Brendan Carroll, winners of the Oman Cup.
It was always our thoughts that we should encourage youth, and I think this is one of the great ways of doing it by having your own stadium. Initially we bought 8.5 acres of land, what we're on presently, and then that was in 1962, and between 1962 and 1969 we had difficulties with the planning authorities. So during that interim period we bought an additional 8.5 acres land, so we have 17 acres land.
And what were the difficulties?
Well, the planning authorities at the time deemed that we weren't suitable, I suppose, for the type of development we had in mind, but initially we overcame the situation, and it was ironic, I suppose, in many ways, because the Minister for Local Government at the time, Kevin Boland, was adamant that we shouldn't develop, and then in 1969 he was superseded in office by Bob Malloy, and Bob received his seal of office somewhere in the afternoon at 2 o'clock, and by 4 o'clock we had permission here to develop.
The entrance is on the road out of Tullamore on the way to Burr. A javelin thrower and a runner set in the gates, leading to a tarmac car park for over 700 cars. A hammer throwing sector is set in the 400 metres grass warm-up track beside the main arena. A social centre with kitchens catering to around 600 was built for $130,072 to generate income. It financed a full international track and field stadium to the tune of over £300,000. Everything was meticulously attended to, with the club crest on the Navan carpet throughout the centre. Now, however, legislation prohibiting the advertising of sports club functions is causing problems.
This year we had to withdraw our sponsorship from the Office Sports Star Awards, which had been running for approximately 25 years, all because we were just not allowed to advertise.
This stand from lottery funds and $25,000 each from government and local authority sources have been the only outside assistance. There are 4 jumping pits, 2 at either end of the runways, catering to wind variation. The pole vault has the most advanced equipment, a far cry from the days of the manually moved uprights and the clay pits. In 1979, the club financed this multi-purpose sports complex for $250,000, with gymnasium, dressing rooms, showers, administration offices, press rooms and viewing area. 500 evergreen trees planted around the perimeter of the stadium 10 years ago, and now grown to over 20 feet in height, give protection to the track. But of course, their maintenance adds to the workload of the amateur officials.
All work is carried out here on a voluntary basis.
With yourself in the lead?
Well, no, not really. We have an excellent relationship with the members, and that's the way it works.
Do you have a permanent groundsman?
Not really, part-time.
It must be a great inroad on your life, is it? I mean, it really takes a lot of your time.
Well, it's something you grow up with, and as I said, I'm not on my own. We have a lot of good workers with us, so we're lucky to have them.
Does it ever give you sleepless nights? You enjoy it. It's your life, really, isn't it?
No, not really. We've other outlooks, but I enjoy it when I'm here.
And Paddy, like the will-o'-the-wisp, appears to be here, there and everywhere. There are always problems to the running of a track meeting. Michael Gillespie, chairman of the athletics committee, confers with the mobile Paddy. And when the track meeting is over and everyone else is gone, the lone figure of Paddy Larkin can be seen picking up litter from his beloved stadium. It's this kind of dedication that has brought to fulfilment a dream born under a lamppost outside a barber shop in Tullamore by people of Tullamore who brought it to fruition through their own hard work and enterprise. In an era when sport has been exploited by the money moguls and personal aggrandizement threatens voluntary effort, it's all the more remarkable.
Brendan O'Reilly reporting there.